Betty swallowed hard and thought of her favorite line from Pride and Prejudice. My courage always rises at every attempt to intimidate me. Surely Murray could be no worse than Lady Catherine de Bourgh. "Murray," she said, then stopped, gathering herself. She'd always been slightly terrified of him, not only because he was her first boss, but also because he'd never seemed charmed by her youth and prettiness. It was what she liked best about him, too. When he hired her, she knew it was because he believed she could do the job, not because he hoped for a little tussle on the desk with a sweet young dolly. In the busy world of journalism, as much as she'd seen of it anyway, Murray was unique in this. He'd never asked her to make coffee for him, never dropped a pen so he could make her pick it up in order to admire her shapely derriere, never once called her honey or sweetie. He was a good boss. But he was scary.
"Good grief, Betty, speak,"
Murray snapped.
"Did you finish the Clark woman's a bit? The family wants it in this weekend's paper because the funeral is Monday."
"Yes, sir," Betty said. "I finished it. It's probably in that pile there." She pointed to a half-foot-high stack of papers on the right edge of Murray's desk.
"So?"
"Courage," Betty told herself again. She realized she was twisting her hands together in front of her and forced herself to quit fidgeting. "Murray, you know how much I like working here, and honestly, I don't mind the obits and local happenings, but—" She took a deep breath and put her hands on her hips. "Well, isn't it time I get to do something else? I mean, Carson has been here 6 months and you've already got him writing headlines. He's not a better writer than me." Actually, she thought Carson was barely literate, but she wisely kept that to herself. Bad-mouthing others to push herself forward was not her way. Murray sighed.
"I suppose you're going to bleat at me until I give you something,"
he grumbled.
"That's usually how it works with you young folks. You're never happy where you are. Lucky for you, I've learned that it isn't worth the aggravation to say no."
He shook his head, and then began rummaging around in his nest. He finally pulled out a yellow sheet of lined legal paper and held it out to her.
"Sunday special story insert. One of those where are they now, pull the heartstrings deals."
Betty took the paper from him and looked at the scribbled writing on it. White River Red, a.k.a. Forrestina Campbell, Fayetteville Oaks Nursing Home. "White River Red?" she asked.
"You don't know about her?" Murray said. "I'm surprised, though I guess you're a little young to have seen her around. There was once a time when she was a pretty common sight, especially during fair season. She ran a betting game that used real live rats at the annual carnival."
He shook his head.
"As a kid, I heard more wild stories about that old bird than you can shake a stick at. You never did see such a fiery-haired, fiery-tempered crone in your whole life. I remember her stomping all around town, dressed in old denim overalls, her hair cut short, wearing an old leather hat and boots, swearing at any man who got in her way, including the sheriff, especially the sheriff."
He laughed.
"I tell you, I think some of the first dirty words I ever heard came out of that woman's mouth."
Betty watched in astonishment as a wry smile appeared on Murray's normally sour face.
"She didn't act that way around other women, though. The minute another female her age or older entered the scene, Red would suddenly become like a lady born and bred, complimenting the other woman on her dress, her hair, talking about fine weather and flower gardens, like she was on her way to a cotillion and butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. And though she always looked as poor as a preacher's pocket, everybody knew somebody she'd helped out in some way. She'd pay doctor's bills in secret, or leave sacks of vegetables or piles of wood on the porches of people down on their luck."
He shook his head, still smiling.
"I didn't know she was still alive, until someone called the other day to ask if you'd had to write an obit for her. I was curious, so I dug around and found out that she's still with us on this mortal coil. I figured it might be good to see how many of those tall tales are really true before she finally does kick the bucket."
He leaned back into the wooden slats of his chair.